There we are. Hello, everyone. This is Climbing with Malo75. I'm here with Scott. We're going to get into a few subjects with Scott that Scott wants to talk about. We do not have no guests today, so it's just me and Scott. So you'll have to just deal with me and him.
Well, sure, we have a guest because last week Martin was our guest,
I guess you're
and
right.
this week I'm going to be the guest.
There
Okay.
we go. Yeah. We're going to let Scott talk about what he wants to talk about today.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Something like that.
Do you want to talk about the book, or you want to talk? What do you want to start off
Well,
with?
I guess I'll start off talking a little bit about history because, we met. I mean, the fact that Martin and I met on the hill, I was doing the hill when Martin and I met, I was just starting to do 500 inclines in a year. And I had been doing the hill for like 14 months at that point, and that's it. But those were like that was the first year and a half of my sobriety. So I was just coming out of being a pretty chronic alcoholic at the end of 2022. And Martin's date is like a year or two before that, right?
Yeah,
But
2020.
when I came out, I mean, my wife had passed in like 2019, but I had no excuses whatsoever. I wouldn't say that I handled that very well, and I still had obligations to my kids that I was really terrible about living up to, and I drank a lot. And by the end of 2022, things came to a head in a lot of different ways, and my younger kids went to live with my sister because I couldn't not drink. I was that bad. And thus began, my journey. But in 2022 was the last time I drank. And I know we've talked about alcoholism a lot with Martin, with Trista, and they were able to have the mental fortitude to just say enough is enough. And, they had a mental strength that I probably did not possess because I ended up getting involved with AA immediately and going to AA and taking the bus to AA because I didn't have a vehicle, because totally unrelated to my drinking, I had a blown transmission right at the same time that I lost my job, which was because of drinking, and I lost my kids, lost my dog, lost my home. But, God ended up just kind of whispering in my ear that I'm going to keep totally messing with your life until you get your act together. And I heard that and I understood it. And initially, I probably went to AA just because it would look good on a resume. I mean, the nudge from the judge, because I thought that I might get my kids back in a pretty short time period. But in retrospect now, I can realize that if it hadn't been for AA initially, I would have probably started drinking again. I mean, I needed the social component of being in a room full of people. Number one, that because they were strangers, they liked you. Because they didn't know you, they didn't hate your guts.
And the alcohol was similar. They were going through a similar situation because
well, right.
Alcohol,
I mean, everybody could shake their heads at whatever you were going through because everyone in AA thinks that their story is unique and that they're worse than everyone. And then they go into a room of 15, 20, 30 people and everybody's just nodding their head like, uh-huh. But it's a very friendly environment. And within a couple months, I got my vehicle back and began to go to the hill, began to do the incline at that point. Because earlier in 2022, I did know I was an alcoholic, and I did the incline every Friday for 4 weeks in April of 2022, and that was like a symbol of my sobriety. And then, of course, in typical alcoholic fashion, I thought, well, I obviously am not that bad because I just went a month without drinking. So typical alcoholic behavior, I convinced myself that I could start drinking again. So I did, and then everything just torpedoed downward from there. I mean, 2022 was not a good year, culminating in the end of 2022 when I found myself alone and bewildered, and just asking the question, how did I get to this point? How did I make such insane choices that would get me to this point? So then in February of 23, I start doing the hill again. Like after I'd maybe done it, 4 times in the previous year. But once I started doing it again, it was very symbolic to me and very comparable to AA because, like AA, it's just a bunch of steps.
Yeah.
It's just one step at a time. But like AA too, it's a matter of feeling the encouragement of the community. And once I was at the hill, while that time, I mean, I just was doing it from the get-go like 4 times a week. I was just doing it like every other day. Because I'd see people up there who'd be like, "Whoa, you losing weight?" And so I'd be like, "Oh, well, I guess this is a good thing."
Are you training?
Yeah, because I mean, it's not normal for anybody to do the hill as much as we do it,
Yeah.
right? So people just get used to seeing you, and I began to develop friends up there. But the discipline of the hill is what I love too. Being tired at 7:30 at night or 8 o'clock at night, and rather than wanting to go out and party through the night, I wanted to be up at 3 in the morning to go do the hill, and then to walk the hard hill and to get to the top and see the sunrise. That was a beautiful thing. And so I just started doing the hill all the time. And I guess that can segue into the fact that before you, because I just posted a pic yesterday that was from before I ever met you, when me and Trista were in a picture together and I had never talked to her. I was just there with my son. And she happened to be at the top, and, Datrin Derrico was always with anybody, like, "Let's get a picture. Everybody get together. Let's get a picture." God love Datrin Derrico. He's a beautiful man. But so we take a picture, and then I think he showed me that picture like a year or 2 later, where I was like, "Oh, look, like we're all in that picture. Like I'm in it with my son, which I love, but Triss is in the picture and we've never talked before." And then in the ensuing months after that, I think you started in April of 24. And I think by that time I knew Trista, but then we would see her on the hill all the time. Oh, and she told us that us doing the hill 2 times a day inspired her to start doing it a lot more, because Trish is just the most competitive person. Like if she sees somebody else doing something, she'll be like, "I can do that."
Yeah.
So she started
push-ups.
Yeah, push-ups. Well, last week she saw you do a double, so she did a double.
I did 100 push-ups last week, and so she did 100 push-ups. She did 2 sets of 50.
Typical Trista. So I was in the middle. After I got sober, I began a pattern. Of course, service is important to anyone who's getting sober. Not only serving the other people in your community of recovery, but serving anyone. And the gift I've had since I was a kid was writing books. And so I told one friend, "Hey, I'll make sure that I get a book published for you." It was a book of poetry that I helped a friend publish in 2023. And then a lot of 2024, I was busy working on a devotional with a friend called Love Letters from Abba, which is written by a friend named Lisa. The first one was a poetry book called The Beautiful and the True, written by a friend named Panya. I made sure both those got published. But then I saw Trista on the hill, and I was like, "Do you want me to like maybe write a book like as your underwriter or whatever?" And I was like, "About the hill? I mean, about the habits that are needed for the hill?" And she was like, "That'd be great." And we ended up calling it Habits of Steel, Climbing Through Life. But we started working on that last year. And it's just the nature of that book that I kind of wanted to talk about, which Martin knows plenty well about, is the fact that who you are is basically defined by what you do on a continual basis, i.e. your habits.
Yeah.
But not only the fact that you have habits, you have like a track record of how you got to this day in terms of your habits. And the habits aren't just physical. I'm talking like a lot of mental habits too, of what's between our ears. Like you said last week, the thing that inspired you to change your life was the fact that you kept waking up.
Yeah.
Well, a part of that was having an underwoven faith for you that allowed you to just say, how I've been doing life is ridiculous. I got to wake up. I got to do things better,
Gotta change, yeah. That repetitive action was not going nowhere.
Right.
But
And so the question is though, how does one make that positive change? Is it just like written into who we are already? Or can we implore people who don't necessarily have good habits to change for the better? And I think that one of the goals of the book that Trista and I wrote is to try to make people wake up to the reality of the fact that you're fine with living a pretty mediocre, meager, somewhat sad existence. Most people are. Most people are fine with working, going home, resting, eating, whatever, but it's all pretty well defined by the culture in terms of, well, this is just what's acceptable. This is what there is to
it's
do.
a strategy. That's what everybody falls into. It's just a strategy that's like millions and millions of people, that's what they do.
A
Just get up in the
means of
morning.
survival.
Yep. Set the
Yeah.
alarm, get up, get ready for work, head to work, go home, make dinner, just do it all over again.
And I'm very thankful that the culture has changed a little bit in the last 10 years, that a part of that used to be like, watch the news, see what you see on the news, know what
I
you
did
know
that.
about the
Yeah.
world by the news. I did it up until 2020.
Yeah.
And then I saw something about COVID in 2020 that made me realize, oh, I shouldn't be watching the news anymore, because I could see that it was all intended to take us all
Yes.
in a
Yes.
given direction.
Brainwash you. I mean,
And
that's what I
so
see it.
and so thankfully the culture has changed for the positive in some ways in that regard. But with regard to a lot of how we are about food, we're a culture that still has a lot to learn in terms of,
Well,
we go to the grocery store and unbeknownst to us, 90% of what's at the grocery store is not food that's conducive to your betterment.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where we want people to understand, is that you can do things to get better. And if you're doing nothing but eating donuts or ingesting a ton of
Pancakes.
sugar, I mean, I saw something that showed like 10 main foods that were outlawed in Europe. And I was guilty up until the last couple years of digesting a lot of those, like Jolly Ranchers
Ultra-processed foods.
and Skittles
Yeah.
and lunch meat
Chex.
and
Check.
and anything breakfast cereal.
Crackers.
Yeah, anything, crackers. A lot of things that I didn't know when I was growing up, that the Lucky Charms that were on the table or in the cupboard weren't the best thing for me. That Fruit Loops weren't really
You thought
food.
that
Like
was
Frosted Flakes are one of the worst things for you. But I grew up with Frosted Flakes.
Yeah.
And
So did
eating
I.
them,
So did
not
I.
just looking at them
Yeah.
on the shelf, but eating them, and donuts. I grew up
Well, I
eating
mean,
a
if it's on
ton
the
of donuts.
they get people accustomed to, if it's on the shelf at the grocery store, it's good, no
But
matter what it is.
Well, then segueing over then to the chronic health concerns that now have to do with fast food, with McDonald's, with Burger King, with Chick-fil-A, with, all of those. There's not a whole lot out there that's good for us. I'll eat a carne asada burrito, but aside from that,
Yeah.
I don't really want anything, and I haven't eaten any fast food. And yet it's a total culture shock for people to go from somebody who was used to just stopping by the drive-through of a fast food on the
Which
way
is
home all the
everybody,
time.
all of us.
Well, you did
We're
too?
all, yeah.
'Cause I certainly did, and I even McDonald's, I'm ashamed to say, up through into, like, 23, maybe even into 24, I don't know, but then I realized, "No, that's not happening again."
yeah, I ate a lot of McDonald's.
And sugar soda, I mean, like
Yeah.
Coca-Cola
So
and
my dad took us.
and
We went to
Mountain
McDonald's.
Dew. That's Mountain Dew's another one that's illegal in other
Yeah,
countries.
yeah, that dye, the
And
yellow
energy
dye.
drinks, I mean, all of that is just really not good for us, but we're so accustomed to going there because we've been trained to think that that's food, that Domino's
Yeah,
has weird stuff in their cheese or whatever,
and the
so
dough.
you
Yeah,
just
that's what I
don't
see.
know. Like, I've gotta and
Whole Foods, that's
I
what you
think
gotta
it's a
eat.
blessing of social media that we have learned these things
Yeah,
because we didn't know these things, about what foods to eat. But then because when we're not eating the right foods, we are more lethargic. We don't want to necessarily exercise. It affects our heart, it affects our pineal gland, it affects all kinds of things in negative ways. And so that kind of reroutes our brain chemistry
mm,
in negative ways. And so what do? You wake up and you realize, well, I'm still alive. And really the point of our book is that what really matters from here is from here. I mean, I have a list 30 miles long of mistakes in my past, but I can't do squatly about that. All I can do is move forward
mhm,
and understand what I have control of. I imagine a little hula hoop around me, and within that hula hoop is really the only thing I control. You don't control, I mean, in terms of like AA, you don't control reconciliation with other people. You give everything to God and you allow God to work through things that you can't work. You don't control other people, and how other people feel is none of your business. And we know, I mean, I've been a messed up person. So if my actions of the past did a lot to mess somebody up, then I have to understand that and I have to just take it as it is and realize that moving forward, I don't control other people. To accept what I cannot change is a big, big deal. But, and also to take whatever I can't change and give that to God and not wash my hands of it, but to be free of the guilt and the shame of things of the past. It hasn't been the easiest thing for me to get beyond what some of my behaviors were. My behaviors were reprehensible,
mhm.
you know? And so it's not like you forget that. And yeah, I had a recommitment to my faith in December of 22, but I purported to have a faith before that. But after that, I really got serious and in a friend told me if you really want to get healthy, serve people as much as you can in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah,
And I took that to heart and I just started doing, I mean, meetings in that capacity, but also serving people in terms of writing books for them. And Trista, as graceful as she is, she wouldn't accept me doing an underwriting job of her book. She wanted to make sure that I was a co-writer on it. I mean, that I actually got credit in this capacity, in this case. So both of our names will be on the book Habits
that's
of
nice.
Steel. But, that's a work. I mean, Trista, who you saw on our episode, like, 4 weeks ago, what an inspiring human being
Mhm.
to have a really kinda heart, to have mental strength beyond compare in terms of just having the conviction to get well for her family's sake.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, a lot of, AA will say, you can't do it for anyone else. You got to do that for you. Well, that's very true. But a part of your world is the people around you. And I really think there's accountability for us a lot farther than what we have grown to think. I mean, you were making me think all last week when you said, I just keep waking up. But I began to realize that one of the reasons why I keep waking up is because my life is not my own. Like
Oh, yeah.
if I had it
Yeah.
my way, I would have died
Yeah.
like 5 years ago. I
Yeah.
mean, I was trying to just drink myself into oblivion. But that didn't happen. And when that doesn't happen, and because I've outlived my siblings, I've outlived my wife, I've outlived a lot of people. When you stay alive for some reason, you realize that there's a loving God that has you alive for some reason. And I begin to feel now as though I have accountability to the world around me to live the best life I can because it's the purpose of someone to show other people. You're not going to tell anyone anything. I mean, people don't learn things unless they are learning by example. So we're not teaching anybody anything unless we're teaching by example. I can't tell someone to be holy or to live a life that's obedient to the maxims of faith if I'm not doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That's just hypocritical.
Yeah.
I can't tell anyone to live in any way that I'm not living. And just like the habits book, a lot of that is not, like we said, it's not only physical, it's mental and spiritual. And that was one of the goals of the book, is to show, because AA is very good at peeling off the layer of the fact that you were using alcohol as a band-aid for way deeper issues. What are the deeper issues? Because if anyone, typically when people just cold turkey alcohol, their life begins to be kind of miserable because they don't have anything to replace it with,
Yeah.
you know? So I had to really probe what AA goes into, which is the character defects that we have and the fears that we have. And I had to be really honest with myself to address the fears that I had, in terms of, why did I drink in the first place? I know for me, it was escapism was a big, big part of that. I didn't want to think. Therefore, I drank.
Yeah.
I don't want to think, therefore I
You don't wanna
drink.
be that
That
person.
could have been my motto.
Yeah.
You were going to say?
You don't want to be that person no more. You just want to take off in your mind.
Yeah, and you got so much guilt and shame and regret and so many things and then once my wife died, I mean, I hadn't been a great husband. And after she died, I just wanted to run from every thought in my head. And still having 5 kids that I should have been accountable to, I still made every wrong choice. So this is not a testimony of heroism on my part in any way, shape, or form. I did not make good choices. Fortunately, I had a good God who loved me enough to kick my butt and to turn me around and say, what do you want to do? Do you want to live or die? It's like the Shawshank Redemption line, get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah.
Well, we had been way good at dying for a long time. And then you realize, if I'm going to live, then why am I alive? Am I alive just to serve me? Or is my life for the purpose of being accountable to others because I want to serve them? And I think for Trista and I both, the book that we've written is really a measure of our responsibility to the world to say, hey, your thinking is pretty morbid. You're fooling yourself if you think you're okay.
Yeah.
If you're overweight and don't really have any way to get better. I mean, yeah, there are mental things that have to do with that too. There's depression, there's anxiety, there's mental illness, there's all kinds of things. But if you're mired in addiction, then how do you get out of that? How do you get to a life that feels happy, joyous, and free? And that is our ambition in the book, is to take someone, because we were that person. We were that person that was enslaved with self-hatred and lack of forgiveness. And you'll hear me talk about forgiveness, just the two. You'll hear us talk about forgiveness all the time, because if you live a life where you're holding grudges and holding resentments, that's not a very good life.
No, no.
I mean, that's like, I really think we worship whatever we put our time into. That's like saying that you worship pain. You don't want
Anxiety,
to get any
stress.
better. You want to be angry at the person who abandoned you. You want to be
Or
angry.
you want to be angry at everybody.
Yeah.
That's how most people take it.
Well, you wanna be angry at the person or the people that abused you, neglected you, abandoned you, the world that abandoned you. Poor me, I'm just alone on the corner, whatever. You wanna play the victim rather than realize that we've all had it hard, and in
Isn't
the
that how
course
it
of
is, though?
all of us having it hard, we're not gonna be that empathetic toward your specific plight besides to say, "Yeah, we've had it hard too."
Mhm.
But that didn't give us any excuse to just cower or cave in and simply die and simply live a wounded, tortured life. I mean, the book is a lot about the things that go on between our ears, which we talked about, of the fact that when you have gratitude between your ears, you're probably living a pretty good life. Even if you just lost your job, you're probably living a good life if you have gratitude between your ears, whatever the circumstances. If you have a get to mentality, like, I don't have to do this, I get to do this. I don't
Yes.
have to wake up
There you
today, I
go.
get to wake up, and I get to serve people, and all of that kind of stuff. Just thinking that the best is yet to come. I mean, just thinking of, well, like we always say, what's the worst that could happen? Well, what's the best that could happen? What if something really phenomenal happens today? And there's no law besides the rituals that we've had our entire lives up till now. For me and Martin, like 100 and some years of practice of what we have put between our ears. And a lot of times for me, it was, well, everything sucks and it's probably going to get worse. And then what if you reach a different mentality where you're like, everything is pretty awesome. Like, I woke up today and I'm thankful that I woke up today. And then within an hour, I'm at the top of a long hill and I'm looking at a beautiful sunrise.
Yeah. Makes
Everything's
it all worth
going
it.
great, and completely rewiring your mind, because most of the things that we do come out of the effects of our mind. And they do affect us on a spiritual level too. And that's what I wanted to say, that with regard to any addiction, whether it be alcohol or drugs, or a male having a pornography addiction, or somebody having a shopping addiction, or a food addiction, all of those things actually have a spiritual underbelly to them. It's not just, oh, I'm going to quit smoking. Well, can you really do that? Because you've got a nicotine addiction. You've probably been smoking for a long, 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 long time. So how are you going to do that? I mean, yeah, replacing a negative addiction with a positive addiction is one of the ways. I mean, we
Yeah.
started doing something that was a great catharsis for us in going up the incline like we did.
Yeah.
You
That,
know?
that was definitely each step, it just makes you better too, though.
Yeah.
Each step. That's what people just need to understand, is just that taking that one step, and then number 2 step, 3 step, 4, and then going from there. And then you just get better. Miraculously, you just get better after you just keep on taking steps over and over and over again.
Well, miraculously,
Maybe it's not a miracle.
no,
Maybe it's,
no,
you
it
know what I
is.
mean?
It is, but it's the miracle of everyday conversion from one
Compounding
mentality
those
to
days too.
another. Is because you were big on last week saying, no, don't just like do it every day.
Yeah.
Do it, continually, and it will become your new habit. And that's what Habits of Steel is about. Is once my habit that I changed considerably was the way that I sought God, because seeking God became one of the main habits that I began to focus on a continual basis, using the hill as an excuse to seek God, using my car, using my bed, using everything in my world as an excuse to say, what up, God? What's the appraisal right now?
Yeah.
Where are we? And nothing keeps us from that. And yet most of us will be like, well, I don't know, me and God, I don't know. And it's like, well, that's up to you. If you seek God, he's there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really easily found. That's one thing my experience has taught me about God is that when I seek him, he is not hiding behind the corner. The thing that I've got to do is reroute my brain to understand that him talking to me isn't about my circumstances changing. My circumstances might get worse, but my intimacy with God might get better in the course of that because I'm learning to depend on him more and more. I mean, as I went through the aftermath of no longer having my children in the same home and realizing that in the first year or two, I didn't have a lot of communication with my younger kids, that's when God became the only person I could really go to. And
Yeah.
but yet I did. I didn't get mad at God because these things had happened. I could see that it was all my doing.
You took the responsibility.
Well, and that's where honesty has to be a part of what we are about. And I began to talk about it last week is us facing the reality of our situation, that nobody else is making our situation hard for us. We're probably making it hard for ourselves.
Mhm.
You know, if I don't eat right, that's not because somebody else is
Well,
making me eat wrong.
each individual, that's, I mean, the way you see the world, that's your world. Nobody
Yeah.
else's world. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Just like your world is your world, my world is my world, and that's what
Yeah.
people need to understand. You know, what you get up in the morning, you're pissed off, you're going to work, road raging, that's your world. That's what you're creating because of what you're going through in your life.
And I guess that is, I mean, one of the things that our book wants to say is what's between your ears could be a lot better.
Mm.
Your life in general could be a lot better. It could be happier. It
Yeah.
could be more directed toward being thankful for what's right instead of crying about what's
Except
wrong.
that,
You know,
yeah.
there are so many ways that we as a culture want to mire in the fact that everything's going down the if you are still a big news watcher, then your vantage point might be, oh, everything's getting worse. I believe this is a really good world that has a lot of beautiful in it that we get to experience every single day
Yeah.
because we don't shy away from it. You know, we go where we know that we're gonna do something that makes us feel better. We're gonna start our day out well, and then the day's gonna probably stay well
Well,
because we did something initially that made it good, you know?
just there's a few factors with the forgiveness part of it, just taking the responsibility, for and a lot of people wake up with just grudges. They're just mad at the world right when they wake up.
Yeah.
That's why I always said, just get up and do a set of push-ups. That's what I was doing for a while. I just get up and I would just do a set of push-ups, and then I'd go use the restroom, brush my teeth, and get ready and
Well, I have a
head on.
curl bar on my kitchen table because
Oh.
that's right where I could reach it and do it 'cause, my shoulder, is messed up because of a dislocated
Oh,
shoulder. That's why
yeah.
I've never done push-ups with you, but I'll do the curl bar if it's right where I could see it and right where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I could do
But
that."
just change your attitude, that's it. All it is.
Yeah.
Movement, the momentum will change your attitude.
Well, that's true. I mean, we've talked about that a little already, is doing is way more important than thinking about doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that will, our friend Daniel always talks about the fact that, when you are working out in like, when you're working out your muscles, it releases hormones that actually make you happy. And so everything about working out physically creates mental goodness, creates, and I believe spiritual goodness. I mean,
Yeah.
depending
Oh,
on who
yeah.
you are.
That's for sure.
But everybody's in their different boat on a lot of fronts, because some people will get on to maybe a weight loss kick or a fitness kick, and it's inspired by something they saw, and it's inspired by feeling. And within a short time, you realize the feeling is going to last you about a day and a half before
Yeah.
you're like, you know what? I don't feel like it today. Well, how many times have you not felt like going to the hill and that you did, and yet you still did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yesterday I didn't feel like going to the hill, but I was so thankful I did because I saw a bunch of people and that I hadn't seen in a while or whatever. Sunday was like that too. So just
Well,
you always end up being thankful for doing the thing that feels like it's the hard thing. Because
Yeah.
that's what the book is about, is that the hard thing is the good thing. You know, how do you build strength in your muscles? Well, you got to tear them. And it's in the tearing of your muscles that they rebuild and come back stronger. Well, that's kind of life. You got to tear your life apart to come back stronger.
Not like us, not like we did, but yeah, in a
No, I
sense.
mean, I wouldn't impose alcoholism on anybody, but it put me in a program where I learned about patience and tolerance and kindliness and love. And in that respect, man, I'm super thankful
So were
that I got
you
into a program that taught me about how to live, not just how to stop drinking,
did you
but how to
start
live.
the heal first or did you start AA first? What were you doing first?
I didn't have a vehicle in the first 2 months, so I started AA
So you started
first.
AA
I went to AA by the bus for the first 2
and
months,
then
and then I got my
somebody told
vehicle
you
back.
about the Manitou Incline or you
No,
just
I
knew
had
about it?
done it, I mean,
You
in
had
the
done it?
past. I mean, I had done it, like, the 4 times in April the year before, but I had done it in 2015, 16 a bunch
Oh,
like,
got you.
25 times also, back before it got renovated,
Yeah.
you know, when the rebar was
The
all
rebar when you impale yourself.
but, another thing you talked about that we haven't really talked about is one thing you definitely need is patience,
Mhm.
because the losing of weight is not overnight. The
Gaining
getting
muscle.
physically strong, even stopping an addiction. You might have relapses where you gotta have patience with yourself to come back, then just get back up and keep fighting. Because it's a way that our culture doesn't help us, is that our culture is very instant gratification. You know, we have a microwave mentality. We want the popcorn done in 2 minutes, so we pop it in the microwave and it's done in 2 minutes. We want whatever done. We don't wanna sit in front of an oven and wait for an hour for something to cook. We've got a microwave mentality. The issue with that, though, is that reality is kind of like an oven reality. Like, nothing takes a short amount of time. You need incredible patience
Yeah.
to understand that your goals are not short term. I mean, I can almost not think of any situation where getting instant gratification is better than getting long-term gratification. Because instant gratification is succumbing to an addiction.
Yeah.
Instant gratification is, well, I don't feel good, so I know how I can change that. You know, long-term gratification is, well, I
Going through the
gotta
suffering,
do,
pain.
and long-term gratification is a lot about you having intimacy with God, because a lot of times that's in isolation. You know, nobody's watching you or I go up the hill 99% of the time. Nobody's watching Trista or Amanda at 4:30 in the morning in their basement or at the gym doing weights. They're alone, but they're doing that because they know that's what's good for their holistic health, not,
Mhm.
you know, their physical body, their mental strength, their
Longevity.
spiritual strength, all of that.
Mhm.
So just getting out of the short-term goal for the long-term goal, man, that takes patience.
Yeah.
And not everybody has that. And it's
Especially
just
when you
because,
don't
no,
see
I want it now. It's
especially when
my
you're not
money.
seeing nothing happen day in, day
Right.
out, day in, day out. You don't see nothing happen at all, but you just have to you just know it's there. It's
Well,
there,
it's kinda like you weaning off of your, like, recent, diabetes meds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it hasn't been easy, right?
No. No,
You
no,
can
it
say
has
more.
no, it hasn't been easy at all. Just because of that, you when you're on that stuff, you rely it to take care of you, as in and then so you could slip up a little more, so you can eat the pancakes, you could eat the cheeseburgers and fries and all that, and know that you could just, rely on that to take care of the sugar and all the problems that you have going on with your body. That I don't know. That was
But you
making
had to
me
get off
feel
it, why?
well, because it was like it felt like it was taking over my body.
Exactly, you saw
Yeah,
that it
serious
actually had long-range
yeah.
destructive effects.
So that's
So in
why
the short term, it was good, but in the
short
long
term,
term, it
well,
sucked.
it's just sucks because it makes you wanna just sit on the couch and not I don't know, I don't know, it was supposed to suppress your hunger, but it made me I was so hungry, I still ate pretty good, but then sometimes I felt real sick.
Mm.
So maybe that's where the suppression happens when it made you feel sick. You didn't, because I didn't want to
Yeah.
eat when I felt sick,
I mean, all to say anything that, why do we take meds? Because why do I take meds for a
To make
headache?
it
It'll make
easy.
me
It's
feel better.
easy.
I mean,
Comfort.
everything is about, and there are some things, it says every good and perfect gift is from above. I'm not saying that taking naproxen for a headache is bad, but if you're taking things that ultimately are destructive for you in some way, then
Just
that's,
like
I
you
mean,
said,
alcohol was
the
an easy
microwave
one
thing,
to,
that's the same thing. Just the
yeah.
microwave situation, same. You take ibuprofen for a headache, or you take, you take the medicine to lower the blood sugar for the diabetes. It's just making you not do the work.
Yeah.
You're just making you lazy. You got to get off of that medication. You got to fight. The body is a miracle fighting machine. I mean, I don't understand that. People think that the body is just, you're just dying.
That
You
you
need to
need a
take
vaccine.
20,000 medications, vaccines to,
Right.
no. What were their ancestors were out there. They said that our ancestors did like 11 miles every
Yeah.
day, or something like that. Something
Yeah.
14 to 18 miles a day.
Well, John
And,
Adams
we
walked like
drive that.
John Adams walked 10 miles a day, and he lived to be 90
Yeah, see,
years
there you
old.
go. Yeah, see, it's just
Yeah.
movement is very, very important. You got to stay moving. I mean, it's just, you get stiff after a
Well, you were
while.
right. I mean, there's a lot of allegory in even how a cut works, because how a
Yeah.
cut works is that all the blood cells on the surface sacrifice themselves and die so that it can get better. That's pretty much a good allegory for life,
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
we and that's what's beautiful about the hill is the extent to which everybody's in something. It's much like AA in that way. Everybody is trying to encourage each other to do something. We know, having done the hill cumulatively almost 2,000 times, we know that walking the incline is not easy. So when we see someone struggling, we also know that if they get to the top, they're going to have this beautiful feeling.
Mhm.
This sense of accomplishment, whatever it is. So we want them to feel that.
Yeah.
And that's what is important to me in the book too, is that I don't want to stoop to the level of people who are negative and say they can't do something. I want to be the person who says, no, you can. You can do things that you didn't think you could do. Just because your mind tells you you can't do something, that's supposed to be the rule? Like, that's garbage. I mean,
Yeah.
what you're telling yourself sucks. A lot of people's mentality is not conducive to them getting better. And so we are here to say we've lived both sides of the fence, and we're telling you your life can get amazing. You can be
Yeah.
happy. You can
Have
that's a
energy.
trip for
Have a
me
lot
when
of energy.
well, one of my generational curses was negativity. I mean, my mom was she was never positive about anything. And so I had to break that generational curse of negativity and just realize life is actually pretty awesome. Life can be beautiful. The best is yet to come. Any axiom you want to use about the fact that we're going that way and not, "Ooh, everything's
Yeah.
getting worse." So I'm not gonna kowtow to people to say, "But life is hard." It's like, well, yeah, life is hard. Get used to it. I mean, like
Yeah.
we are, I would rather lift people up to our level than be reduced to wherever level they are, if they're not believing in the ultimate goodness of faith, of seeing that they are in fact like a soul living in renting a physical body, but seeing that everything is holistic, like the
Yeah.
physical, mental, and spiritual, but having mental habits that train you to say that life is beautiful and to have you seek God. As much as that's a spiritual habit, that's a mental habit too, to be able to seek the goodness of God and to hear a loving God that tells me on a continual basis. He's not saying you mess up all the time. He's saying, hey, it's all right. Get back up. You're
Yep.
not dead. Get back up. It's
Yeah.
going to
You
be
just got to get
okay.
back up.
Whatever happened, it's okay.
Get
Keep
back
getting
up.
back up. Keep getting back up. And that's the passion that I have to want to encourage other people in the same way to say, don't get down on yourself. Self-hatred is a big one that, you know, induces people to just say, well, I don't even want life to get better. You know, I want life to suck because I suck. And so you got to get out of that mentality that just says, well, okay, what if I don't care? What if, what if I'm overweight and I'm lazy and I'm going to die because, and I'm on 15
Yeah.
meds? What if I simply don't care because I don't like myself? But a lot of that's because of trauma you've been through that really you weren't ever the problem.
Yeah.
Somebody else convinced you that you were the problem and you weren't the problem. And so making people love themselves, that's not something I could probably do. But being aware of the fact that that is the issue of, well, in reality, yeah, you're saying a lot of good stuff, but I just don't give a crap. I don't care. Who cares if I get better? Who cares if people want to feel safe, and they feel safe a lot of times in a very meager existence because changing induces fear.
Oh,
A lot of the
yeah.
changes in their past
They
life,
don't
you know,
want to take
when
no
you were,
risks. They don't want to take no
well, like when you were
risks.
growing up, maybe one day you realize your dad's not there. Where's dad? Oh, we no longer live together. He took off.
Yeah.
And so the change creates this feeling like, oh man, something bad is going to happen. You begin to fear change because all of the changes you've had in your life have been mostly negative, and you stop thinking that maybe change is the most positive thing that you could go through. If you find out that you don't have a job anymore, maybe that's the most positive thing you could go through. If somebody does, I mean, we don't want anyone to incur trauma, but once you go through trauma, then there's almost that feeling like, well, but I don't know how I can get out of this. And
Well, it's
then we want
those
people to
small
realize
steps.
you got to
Little
have,
tiny small steps to get
yeah.
out of that trauma. That's all it is. Just like the book, to encourage people, hey, there is steps you could take.
Well, just knowing that you have the worth, you know, like if a good friend of yours talked to you the way you talk to yourself sometimes, you'd be like, get out of my life. But we don't realize how hard we are on ourselves. We'll be irreparably hard on ourselves and tell you haven't done this and you haven't done this and you haven't
Oh,
done that.
yeah.
And in who else is going to say that to us? But we'll say it to ourselves, and we won't even see how destructive that is or how much guilt and shame and self-loathing comes with that. And so things like that, we just want to make sure that we encourage people that you don't have to dislike yourself. And the opposite of that, then, creating a track record of success in multiple areas is really important. Like we might have been I was only good at like doing the hill for a little while. And then it's like, well, I'm good at that, so why don't I try to do this? And I'm good at that, so why don't I, or just, the way that we went through our sobriety is, well, I got through another day and I didn't drink today, and then you acquire the new habit of being sober. And then when hard things happen, you don't have a little voice saying, go get drunk, because hard things are still going to happen. People are still going to die.
Yeah.
Things are going to happen, but we no longer have that as our defense mechanism, as our avoidance technique, as our coping skill, because it's not a healthy coping skill.
Yeah.
It's just going to bring cancer. I mean, alcohol just
Cirrhosis to the liver.
Yeah. Physical damage, but just the mental, the terror, frustration, bewilderment, despair that comes with drinking. Because you get to that point then where you're only drinking like by yourself and you only want to be alone. And that isolation is something we've talked about in the past as a main thing that induces addictive action. Not just addictive tendency, because addictive tendency might be from when we were real small. But man, if you get isolated and you're mired in an addiction, how are you going to come out of that without involving other people?
Yeah.
That's people will think one day I'm just going to say enough is enough and be done. Well, that might have worked for you and Trista when it came to alcohol, but I could not have done that. I needed people around me that I could communicate with and be like, man, it's been like 8 days and I'm a little shaky and I'm struggling, and them saying, just keep, I mean, people have no idea how encouraging other people can be until they surround themselves with really excellent people. And that's what we want to be, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the point of this podcast is to surround people with encouragement and surround them with people who say, hey, we've been through hard stuff, but man, we now have kind of reprogrammed our minds to be on an upward tilt no matter what happens, no matter what the circumstances.
Nothing can knock us off of that.
No.
Nothing can knock us off the steps.
No.
I mean, you can fall off yourself, but nobody can knock you off.
Except for a moose.
Oh, yeah, except for a moose.
We didn't see the moose.
No,
we would have loved to
I
see
was
the
very
moose.
sad.
Because what was that? Only like 4 days ago, 5 days
Yeah.
ago, there was a moose on the incline. That would have been
That
beautiful.
large
to
one
see.
too. That's crazy.
Well, any questions you have? Anything else you want to
No,
talk
I think
about?
think you pretty much summed it up. What you're talking? Is that what you want to talk about the book? Everything?
Yeah, only just for now, because I
Part.
thought that'd be a good topic. But it's called Habits of Steel: Climbing Through Life by Trista Montoya and Scott Degelman.
Yeah.
She gets the top billing because she's the good-looking one.
Well, that's good, huh? I think we're good there.
We're good.
What you want to call it? Well, everyone, this was Climbing with Malo75. Me and Scott, we're just here trying to inspire people, motivate people, trying to get people to change their ways.
For the better.
Yeah, to kind of show you that there is so much brighter light on the other side of life with some movement.
The best is yet to come.
Yeah, the best is yet to come. You got to check out all my Gumroad products, digital products, Malo75. Remember, search Malo75 everywhere. I'm on, I got music out. You got to check that stuff out. I got a school program out. So I am on school as well. So I'll put all the links in the description. But subscribe, follow, like, comment. If you want to be on the show, comment, hit us up. All right? Let's get it. That was good. Not bad.